Hello and welcome once again. We need about $1 billion to give the Ghana Trade Fair facility the required facelift to meet international status. This according to the Chief Executive of the Ghana Trade Fair Company, Dr. Agnes Edu. The boss of the facility tells Joy Business they are hopeful that those strategic investors that will be brought on board can help raise the required capital.
A visit to the trade fair in the 90s was something that everybody was waiting for. With bated breath, patrons came to the trade fair center to have fun and indeed sometimes also patronize items. The current state leaves much to be desired, and it looks like government will have to make a decision to either sell or find investors for the place. At Pavilion A, the buildings and structures were helplessly coming apart. This is where Ghanaian goods were usually exhibited, one of the busiest parts of the trade fair in the 1990s. Between that and the round pavilion, structures had to be pulled down, indicating a possible development. The unsightly surrounding and some critical spots, including the African author's stand, is simply heartbreaking. Exactly what is wrong?
Well, if I can sum it up in one word, it would be mismanagement, meaning that the previous administration's inability to actually manage the facility well. The second issue is really the disrepair that you see here, meaning that the facility is no longer enough to hold international events.
At the round pavilion, the situation was much better since it had been painted. Moving on the streets, the front part of the pavilions, the place was totally overtaken by weeds and has been turned into a truck bay. At this rate, it's obvious the trade fair company will require billions of Ghana cedis to fix the place.
I mean, you're talking about no less than $1 billion, meaning $1 billion, that will be needed in order to pull the caliber of development that we want to bring here. Obviously, that can come from one pocket. And so the model that we've adopted, that it will come from multiple developers and multiple angles, is really the way to go.
Several stores have been empty for a long time. With it have come tenants who have been ejected for non-payments or who simply were not getting value for money with the deterioration that has come with the place. CEO of the company says several tenants owe the trade fair company in electricity and arrears to the tune of 2.1 million Ghana cedis. Electricity bills alone owed the ECG is 600,000 Ghana cedis. Many factors led to this power crisis that currently faces the Ghana Trade Fair Company. A lot of the tenants on the site were not paying their power bill, and the power bill gets handed over to the company. So we've aggressively gone after those tenants to make sure that we collect and then pay directly to ECG. ECG is also open to working out an agreement, some form of payment agreement between us and them. And in 2008, it became urgent to get strategic investors to salvage the remains. This did not happen since 2015, when the Dubai company Eagle Hills, which is in 5 countries, expressed interest. The signing of an MOU for 80% shares was quickly signed. Then the question is, why didn't it ever work?
Okay, so the first thing was that they had X amount of days that they are supposed to fund an escrow account so that the good faith monies can go into that account. That was never funded. The second thing was that they had 200 days of exclusivity. That means that we will not talk to anybody else but that company to redevelop it. And in 200 days, if you haven't funded your escrow ahead of time, so every covenant under that MOU, when you take it piece by piece by piece, that company could not actually live up to it. And so it was never funded, and it was never consummated. And so that MOU has lapsed.
Bidding for different aspects of the trade fair site is expected to happen after the place is shut down in March 2018. Makeshift structures will therefore be inevitable during the 22nd International Trade Fair, where the concentration will be on the One District, One Factory program, showcasing the various districts and their potential.
Is hard work. So basically, the facility as it exists now, we are going to refurbish it. We are going to refurbish the pavilions, get it into shape, and we are also making the outside pavilions. We're clearing an area, staging it properly so that we can add to the room, to the elbow room. So the outdoor will be more featured, more than the indoors, because the indoors, the facilities are quite small. So though it's not a magic wand, it's a temporary fix that we can put on this international trade fair, and it'll probably be the last one on this site. And then subsequent trade fairs will be held in the regions while we remodel this facility.
The Trade Fair Company was established in 1967.
Well, the sad story of the Trade Fair centered there. Well, some news we can celebrate. Indigenous businesses that have distinguished themselves through not-for-profit organization Invest in Africa's business linkage and skills development programs are expected to be honored tonight at an award ceremony. The maiden Invest in Africa SME Excellence Awards is under the theme Building Local Businesses for Global Markets. Country Manager of Invest in Africa, Clarence Nate, has been speaking to Joy Business ahead of the event, which takes place at the Labadi Beach Hotel tonight.
And basically, I think it's as it says, is really to award SMEs within our pool who have demonstrated innovative potential, who have over the years also been able to scale up to be able to plug into the supply chain and indeed the value chain of some of the larger companies. Now, the whole idea, as I said earlier on, we try to provide access to skills and markets and finance. Now, most of those that you would see nominated and will go on to be awarded would have been people that in large part have demonstrated the model in terms of seeing how all those three pieces work together. So to the BLP program, which is the flagship capacity building program, we've seen most of them go through almost 3 years of training, and in the process, we've seen some of these guys also access finance as well as tenders, and so basically given credence to the fact that the model that we have actually does work. So it's about rewarding these SMEs that over the years have played a pivotal role in proving the model and also contributing to job creation in this country.
And we're bringing you the outcome of that event. Do stay tuned to Business Live. Now, Canada has expressed interest in helping to boost Ghana's economic growth through capacity building. Ghana and Canada have had a long-standing relationship over the years with significant investments in the mining sector. Speaking at the Canada Education Fair in Accra, Canadian High Commissioner to Ghana, Heather Cameron, noted Canada has a lot to offer by way of human capital development.
Education fairs saw representatives from about 30 Canadian schools at various levels offer insight into opportunities that exist for Ghanaians to study in Canada. The Canadian High Commissioner to Ghana, Heather Cameron, identified specific courses designed to target various sectors of the Ghanaian economy.
Well, the Ghanaian economy and the Canadian economy in terms of sectors are in many ways similar. We have both important mining, oil and gas sectors, and we have a significant number of programs at all levels in all of the disciplines needed to help with those sectors grow and develop here. We're very strong in engineering and IT, and we have significant research clusters around agriculture, health, fintech, finance, aluminium, metals, oceans, you name it. And so I think when I look at the sectors of Ghanaian economy and Ghana's future growth trajectory, I know the Canadian institutions offer a great deal.
The High Commissioner added that Canada is looking to increase investments in other sectors besides mining.
And mining obviously has been a big priority for us and continues to be so, but we're seeing increased investment and partnerships in the areas of renewable energy, in education, and also in agriculture.
Sheila Tamaklu for Joy Business.
Well, some interesting developments in the banking sector in the last couple of days. We want to delve into the Bank of Ghana indicating its preparedness to consider the request from one of the world's biggest bank, JPMorgan Chase, to establish its presence in Ghana. Of course, they made that announcement on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum that is underway. Well, let's speak with Courage Mate. He's an economist. And good evening to you. A lot of positive reactions to this since the news broke. Are you as positive as everyone else?
Yes, good evening and thanks for having me. Yes, I am as positive as everyone else, partly because if you look at the trajectory of economic growth that we've experienced, particularly with the ever-expanding oil and gas sector, you require some financial muscle in the financial sector to be able to, oil the real economic activity that is happening, particularly as driven by oil and gas. And so if you have a substantial amount of investment banks or funds coming through to support this sector, of course, one should be positive and optimistic and excited that such a firm is coming to support the financing of economic activity in this country.
Well, we know that JPMorgan Chase initially tried to move to Ghana. That was ditched at some point, and now they have announced that it again. Questioning why and why now?
Well, they themselves have cited the fact that the regulatory environment appears positive and receptive now today. And because of that, they consider that given the friendly and the favorable regulatory environment, they should consider expanding their tentacles into this place. That is one. Two, the economy of Ghana, again, is expanding. And currently, we are looking at a GDP size in excess of 200 billion Ghana cedis, and that requires a lot of financing, which the current, size of our banks and financial institutions may not be able to solely, support. And with the JPMorgan having an asset under management of about $1.9 trillion, you would expect that this is the support that will require to come in. Of course, the outlook for the economy as far as macroeconomic stability is also very bullish, with currency stability, low inflation, and a growing economic base with a stable fiscal situation. Then any foreign business looking to expand into this place would expect that the risk to their capital is low. And so if you look at the macroeconomic factors as well as the regulatory, prospect, it appears positive to attract such investors into this country.
Well, they are coming to a very choked banking sector, and we've realized what the regulator itself is trying to do to sort of bring a certain balance. What kind of impact do you think they would make on the financial industry here in Ghana, and how are things going to play out in terms of competition?
Well, given their experience from a more developed economy, I think that they'll be coming with competitive products. They'll be coming with a lot more sophisticated level of financial services. Our economy is significantly dependent on bank credit, but financing for a lot of economic activity requires beyond just bank credit. The structure of financial support requires some level of sophistication, and the experience of companies like JPMorgan will be needed on board to provide not just that support, but the level of competition required to take even our financial entities to the next level. So I think the benefit will come not just for the financing to the economy, but also the kind of competition it will engender in our local economy and drive the financial sector to a whole new level.
All right, just hold on a bit. I want to ask you about the bond issuance. Just to update our viewers right now, what is the latest on that? Government has secured 615 million cedis from investors to help reduce the energy sector bonds. Now, these funds were gotten after it closed a 10-year bond, which was open on Monday. Managers of the economy were targeting about 137 million, but ended up getting far more than that. Your reaction to that, Courage?
Well, it shows that investors at the initial needed some time to observe and arrive at a concrete decision. And it appears, having issued the bond in December and listed the bond on the Ghana fixed income market, the bond has traded consistently week in, week out. And investors have answered one of the pressing questions, which was on the liquidity or potential liquidity of this bond. Now, having traded week in, week out since its listing in November, investors see that the bond is liquid. And so the premium they would have demanded on that bond is now lower, and their decision to enter the bond is now assured by the fact that the bond can be traded once they need to trade it. So that liquidity component of the bond is what may have attracted investors to this tap issue this time around.
All right, thanks very much for your perspective. You had Courage Mate there speaking about so many issues to do with the bond as well as the entry of JPMorgan Chase. We'll get back to that because it's not just JPMorgan Chase that is trying to make a move to Ghana. We've seen government finalize a deal with ExxonMobil. Now, so we're trying to figure out why is it that these American multinationals are heading to Ghana. What does that mean? Here's senior country partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Vish Ashiagbor.
ExxonMobil is in, we hear Bank of America, we hear JPMorgan's. What do you make of the entry of all these giants into the economy?
Well, I think that at the end of the session we just had, I think you heard George Ahin, one of our partners, mention that there's a general optimism around, not just within Ghana, but even from independent sources externally, that Africa and Ghana is on the growth path once again. So I think what we're seeing is a reflection of that. The potential for growth, which is spurred by the not just the environment and not just our traditional commodity price cycles, etc., but the type of things maybe we ourselves are doing internally to try and boost the economy. So I think these are indicators that we expected, and we're happy to see that the indications are coming through. And it's part of the business cycle.
You think that this thing also influenced their thinking? Because these are huge thinking of Exxon, JP, because these are huge companies that when they take that decision to move, they would have done a lot of prospecting before they move.
Yes. So, of course, organizations of that nature do not easily or do not set up business in a country, like you said, without doing their homework. So I think it's a sign of confidence in our economy. They are seeing something that we should also see as locals and take advantage of the same promise that they are seeing.
I mean, you've been in this business for a very long time, and when I sit at the table with those big giants, I mean, shivers through my spine. I mean, what should be our approach? As me personally, if I'm negotiating for a country like maybe Togo, and I have to be at the table with maybe JPMorgan's and Exxon, what should be our positioning to ensure that we get what we're supposed to get as a country and not be affected by the might and power of these giants?
Well, I don't think there's any particular magic to it. It's like any other meeting or negotiation that you go to. You must be prepared, and you must understand what is in it for you, what is in it for the other side, and be prepared to negotiate as hard as you can to make it a win-win, ultimately. So there's no magic to it. I think it's just about preparation, understanding the landscape, understanding your own potential, understanding the other person's offer or potential, and trying to strike a win-win.
In other news, some industry players continue to raise concerns over the continuous implementation of the tax stamp policy by government. The Food and Beverage Association is warning the policy, which took effect on January 1, will collapse local beverage manufacturing firms in the country. General Secretary of the association made this known at the launch of the Ghana Beverage Awards. Here's more in this report.
Ghana's local beverage industry faces a threat of collapse should the government not reconsider the tax stamp policy. This is what the General Secretary of the Food and Beverage Association, Sam Agri, is asserting, saying the policy seeks to jeopardize manufacturing companies across the country. Speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of the launch of the Ghana Beverage Awards, Sam Agri argued that exempting local manufacturing firms from the tax stamp policy could help expand the industry.
I don't think any serious country would want to introduce the measures that have been put into those laws, because once you put those, you start to criminalize businesses, then what you are doing is that you are asking industry to fold up and then relocate to other countries. This is not what we want.
So you think this also has the potential of collapsing local beverage manufacturing?
What it means is that those who are not able to implement the tax stamp policy, you eventually will have to fold up.
On his part, tax expert KB Anda called for broader consultation between government and local manufacturers over the policy.
At the end of the day, it's about dialogue. The government is looking for ways and means to increase revenue. Any revenue shortfalls means that the country is sick. And any astute minister will look around and see how best he or she can garner more revenue. Once this economy is self-financing, and remember, the president is quick to indicate that Ghana should go beyond aid. It falls into that, philosophy. We need to be self-financing.
Meanwhile, Acting Chief Executive of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Akwesi Agyeman, has assured the authority will prioritize industry research and create ready markets for local manufacturing industries.
I want to see a certain amount of improvement, so research and development. If you look at most of the drinks that are on the market now, they are herbal based, and so the collaboration between the industry and academia to see how, some of the herbs that are used, because they have some medicinal benefits and we are not marketing it well, and so if we can improve on that medicinal value of most of the drinks that we have, then I believe that we'll be the best in West Africa.
The Ghana Beverage Award is expected to take place in August.
The Technology Consultancy Center of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology says welding will play a key component of government's One District, One Factory agenda. Director of the center, Professor Joseph Saki, points out industrial manufacturing and design will depend on it for high productivity. Love FM's Kwesi Deborah reports.
Covered in smoke and sparks, welder William Nuboho appears to bother little about the situation. After all, he has been through it for over 30 years.
It's good in terms of the operation. It's easy to operate. You can use one hand and do your welding.
Stick welding, first developed in the 19th century, remains an important process in fabrication of steel structures and vehicles. Though William is able to achieve strong welds even with his cast iron works, he isn't at all that pleased.
It doesn't have smooth welding and strong welding as well.
Using a gas such as helium and a non-consumable tungsten rod, an operation involving less smoke is possible. Tungsten inert gas welding, used extensively in Europe and North America, may become a game changer. Nathan Cantrell is welding and fabrication instructor at Olin College of Engineering in the United States.
So the way that TIG welding works is similar to any other form of welding, except that the filler material is separate from the electrode. The major benefits of this form of welding is that it is stronger, lighter, and cleaner.
At 99.
The KNUST Technology Consultancy Center has, for the past 7 years, been partnering Olin College of Engineering on various projects. Technicians at the center are undergoing training in this method, thought to be essential in government's development agenda.
Good job. That's very good.
Professor Samuel Saki is director.
This technology is a manufacturing technology. used in putting together machines and equipment for use. And because of its superior character, we are expecting that this technology will replace, in a large measure, if not completely, the old technologies that have been around for quite a while.
For JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Well, on that note, we end Business Live tonight. Thanks for being good company. My name is Daryl Kwao. We are back same time tomorrow.